few weeks ago, Bambu released a big update for the H2D, adding a bunch of new features, as well as a couple of new accessories for printing TPU. The real big thing in this update is the fact that you can now print with flexible filaments on the left-hand hot end, which opens the doors to be able to do dual colour TPU printing, and today I'm going to be telling you all about it. Okay, so as I mentioned, on release, the H2D is capable of multi-material and multi-colour printing, but it was restricted with the filament types. So for instance, if you want to print multi-colours with things like PLA, PETGs, that's absolutely fine. You can use them in the AMS and either hot end. When it comes to flexibles though, you were only able to print flexibles on the right-hand hot end on the H2D, the fixed hot end that doesn't move. And whilst Bambu do make their own TPUs that are compatible with AMS, standard TPUs such as 95 are not compatible in the AMS, which meant you were only able to print TPU in a single colour. You were absolutely able to do multi-material printing, such as PLA on the left and TPU on the right, but what you couldn't do is what I've done here, is print this TPU bracket in two different colours. However, with the new firmware, that has now changed. You can now print with TPU in either of the hot ends on the H2D, putting a blue on the left and a black on the right, as you see here. Just to be crystal clear, you now can use TPU in both hot ends, but nothing has changed with regards to the AMS, whilst you can still use Bambu's own TPU for AMS in that you cannot use flexibles such as TPU 95 in the AMS, but what this does now mean is that you can do at least two colour TPU printing. Now this firmware is 01.03.00.00, and if we take a look through the new feature list, there is quite a lot that's changed here. So for instance, in this new firmware, they've added support for printing while filaments are drying in the AMS 2 Pro as well as the AMS HT. They've added support for the camera-based verification of tungsten carbide nozzles. They've added support for TPU printing on the left-hand nozzle with a hardness of 90A or higher. They've added support for the TPU high flow kit as well as the new feeder modules. We will talk about these in a minute before we get into the printing. These are some new accessories for people who are printing TPU quite a lot. They've also added support for starting prints over LAN without requiring USB storage, added foreign object detection beneath the heat bed, live view camera based nozzle clumping detection, live image display AI detection error pop-ups, and I'm not going to go through all of this. However, there is a huge amount of new features in this update, and it is certainly one you want to have a good read through when it comes to what has actually changed. Alongside the firmware, Bambu have also released a couple of new accessories for TPU printing on the H2D. Now, these are not needed for everyone. They're really specifically for people who are doing a lot of TPU printing. We have high flow hot ends as well as feed motor kits. Now, these high flow hot ends are going to cut your print time down. They're available in 0.4 and 0.6 mil, and they're ideal for people who are doing a lot of TPU printing or printing large items in TPU. For instance, here they show you on this print that a normal hot end would have got you to 70%, the high flow kit would have got you to 100%. On these shoes, they're showing you on the normal hot end, it would have been 3 days, 20 hours and 19 minutes, and it cuts it quite dramatically down to 2 days, 15 hours and 36 minutes. So again, these are just some nice new options for people who are doing things like printing shoes, large TPU items where speed also matters. Alongside this, they've also released some feed motor kits. Now, the idea of these is to have an external feed motor on the outside of the printer to feed TPU down into the hot end. It isn't designed to be used with the AMS. It doesn't mean you can use the AMS now with flexibles. It simply means that it's going to offer an assistance for TPU feeding if you have it through the back of the printer. You can see here they're showing you, for instance, if you're using it with the AMS HT, you can pull the filament out of the AMS HT through the feed motor and into the printer. It doesn't have to be used with the AMS HT, but that is one use case that they're showing you it with. So here you can see they've got the AMS HT on the top, it coming down and feeding in via the hole on the back there. You could have it fading in from below to the side. So if you do have your TPU in a dryer, for example, doesn't even necessarily need to be the HT, this is going to help you with that external feeding. However, that is designed to be used when you're using TPU down here. Bambu also have this solution, which is here, which I'm going to show you in a minute, because that is what I am using with the multicolor TPU printing, which allows you to print from above directly down into the hot ends. Now, this motor kit is a combination of parts they supply and parts you need to print yourself. They have a bit of info on this on their communities page, and they also have some stuff on their wiki as well. This motor kit, as I've said, it's an assist to get the filament through down into the extruder. It doesn't change the fact that you still need to make sure it's a clean path, is the term I use. Basically, the TPU cannot go through the filament buffer. It needs to either go through that dedicated input on the back here, or you need to go straight down into the top of the extruder and hot ends with this bracket over here. It's just to assist you if you are using it with, say, an external dryer. Now, for the first print today, we're going to use this Overture TPU. This is 95A. I've always found the Overture quite a soft TPU in comparison to some of the others like SaneSmart. I tend to use SaneSmart Black a lot. So what we'll do is put this on the left-hand side. We'll do a test print first, and then we will move over to doing a dual color print using TPU on both sides. So to do this, the first thing you're going to need to understand is that you need to get a good clear path for the TPU into the printer. You can't put the TPU via the built-in filament buffers at the back. Instead, you need to feed it in such a way that goes directly into the extruder. And the best way to do this is with a bracket like you see here. Bambu have actually released their own bracket that you can download and print via the app. This bracket allows you to mount your filament above. The Bambu version also has PTFE tubes to go down into the extruder. However, there are a few remixed versions of this in studio as well, and that's one of the ones that I downloaded that allows the filament to simply go straight down into the top of the extruder ready to go. They recommend you print this in ABS, so I dried a spool, loaded it into the AMS, let it go, and as you can see, it came out absolutely spot on. Again, just to mention, you could also use the feed motor option, although this is really designed for a single TPU input. This feeds it down through the module into the dedicated TPU flexibles input on the back of the printer that bypasses the filament buffers. But this is really only set up for a single feed. You could force 2 feeds through. However, I'll be honest, my preferred option is the bracket you've seen here above. Okay, so for this first test, I've got a nice easy bracket here for a DJI Action 2 camera. This we're going to print in TPU. If I go to my device for the H2D, you can see we've got TPU set up on the left and the right. We're going to use the blue one, which is on the left extruder, and then we've got it configured. I am currently playing with some custom profiles for the H2D. I'm still doing a bit of tweaking on it. If it's finished, I will publish it with this video in the description. If there isn't one there, it's not ready yet. Once it is ready, I will let you guys know. We're then just going to make sure we've got supports on. We do need to make sure that supports are covered. Some of the overhangs on this bracket can be a little bit tricky in my experience. It can play up at times, especially around here, but let's just slice it. Let's see how it goes. You can see there, it's put the tree supports there and up to there. Where it's not supporting it is on these big overhangs up here. What I think I'm going to do, because it usually causes me a little bit of a problem, I'm just going to paint some supports onto that around there, and then we'll kick the print off. Okay, so as you can see, I've kicked that print off. Just to show you, we've got the filament going straight into the top of the extruder. I've not bothered with any PTFE tube on this. The filaments are just hanging on the bracket on the top nicely, and then they're just going to feed down, nice low resistance path. And now we're using that left-hand extruder. As you can see, that is going to feed in. So we'll let that kick off, and then I'll show you the results. Okay, so that print is finished. We'll get it over to the table and give you a look. So I've just removed the support material, and then you can see the print there. It was a little tougher to get off than I would like. I thought I was recording doing it, and I looked across and realized I wasn't. So unfortunately, you didn't get to see me take it off. Other than the support material print part, it looks really clean. Just showing you the couple of retraction marks, but nothing terrible. I think a little bit of tweaking needs to be done, mostly around support, just on the interface layers. But overall, that's a really nice, clean print from the left-hand hot end. More than anything, this was just to prove that the left-hand hot end can now print flexibles. So I think what we'll do next is head over and do a multicolor print. Okay, so to show you how to actually colour the print, the simplest way to do this is with your painting feature. But before you do this, you do need to make sure that you've got your filaments correctly set up in Bambu Studio. On the H2D, you can see on the left extruder, we've got TPU, which is this blue one here. And on the right extruder, we've got the black TPU. Both of these are externally fed from above, as shown earlier in the video. What we're then going to do is make sure that this is synchronized correctly to the studio here. So we've got the correct filament shown. And then what we're going to do is click on our model and click on the painting feature. This will allow us to paint different parts of it in different colors. For what I want to do here today, we're going to do it by layers, and we're going to use this feature here, which is the height range. You can use various different options that are available within the studio, but what we're going to do is use the height range. We're going to set the height range at 2 mil. And what we're then going to do is every 2 mil change the color of this print. So I'm going to go down to the bottom. We're going to select the first area at 2 millimeters. You can now see that that has set a 2 mil black band and a 2 mil blue band. And then we're simply going to continue this process. So we then want to go to 6 millimeters for the next gap, 10, and do this all the way up, leaving a 2 mil gap between each line. And there you can now see that we have our multicolored print. You can obviously set this whichever way you want to. You can set the direction whichever way you want to. It's entirely up to you, but that's what we're going to do here today. Once we've got it the way we want it, we want to make sure that we've got our profile selected. We're going to select normal 0.2 millimeters. We're going to make sure we've enabled support, and I'm going to set that on the build plate only, because that should be all we need here. And then I'm going to click slice. This then should give you a good view of the print with the supports in place. You can see the supports are also going to change color as the print proceeds as well. And then behind it, we've got a tower, which is going to be necessary for the change of color on the printer. We then just go down the layers and look from above. You can see each of the different layers as the color changes all the way down. It isn't just the external layer that is the change of color. It is the entire internal and external structure all the way up to the top. Once that's done, we're then ready to send it to the printer. Okay, so here is the end result, still attached to the build plate. I haven't even removed it yet, so what I'm going to do is just give it a tug. We've obviously got our tower, which has a few stringers on it, nothing terrible, all off the black TPU as well, which is interesting. But there you can see the multi-layer, multi-color result. But obviously what's important is the main print itself, which is this. You can see we've got our supports. I do need to tweak the profile a little bit on the H2D for TPU, especially for the supports. They are hanging on a little bit tight, but it does the job to ensure that you don't get sagging or anything like that. What I'll do is get all of this off, get it cleaned up, and then we'll take a look at the print in a bit more detail. Okay, so there we go. You can see the final result. What is interesting actually is right there was one of the interface layers of the actual TPU between the black and the blue, and that's why I had a little bit of trouble pulling the supports off, because it was literally right on the layer. You can see there each of the colors. The black TPU is Sane Smart, the blue TPU is Overture. The blue tends to be a little bit softer than the black, but I have to say I'm really pleased with how that's come out. It isn't perfect. I do need to tweak the TPU profile on this printer a little bit. I am still working on it. I'm finding it a little bit more challenging to tweak than the likes of the P1S, the P2S, and the X1 that I had before. I released custom profiles for them, and I do intend to do the same for the H2D as well. It's not that it's far off, because it really isn't. It definitely needs a little bit of a tweak for supports, just to allow a bit more separation, and retraction is a little bit of an issue. You can see there's the odd bobble mark, especially on the black. The blue, which is actually on the left-hand extruder, is fine. It's just the black. I have dried this an awful lot because it was very wet. It is possible it actually needs a little bit more drying, but overall I have to say I'm happy with that. It's nice now to be able to do multicolor TPU printing on the H2D. Really pleased with this update. Was a bit of a surprise. Bambu are continuing to tune this printer, continuing to provide new features, and that is really great to see. So, as you've seen there, multicolor TPU printing with both hot ends is here. You can now do it with the H2D. This is one of the little things I was disappointed about when it launched, that you couldn't do it. It's really great to see that Bambu have listened. They have added it. I've done a bunch of printing, and so far I've had no issues at all. Overall, it's really good. Obviously, you're still limited to 2 colors, but it is a big step forward from where we were with the limitation of only being able to do 1. As I said as well, you have these new accessories for printing TPU, the high flow hot ends, the external feed motors, but not everyone is going to need them. And there is also a bunch of other improvements in this firmware that I haven't touched on here today. This video was about TPU specifically, but it is well worth a look at everything else that has changed. And as I've said, it's great to see the H2D continue to develop, and it really does make it a more useful printer, especially if you're into doing your dual color flexible printing. Now, hopefully you have found this video useful. If you have, please do consider checking out the links to both the Bambu store that I have in the description. That is an affiliate link, but there's also links down below to my Patreon, as well as Buy Me a Coffee. I will put a link to my original review for the H2D in the description, but if you would like to support us, please check out those links. I want to say a massive thank you to all of my Patreons, everyone who supports the channel. We would not be able to do this without your support. And overall, that is pretty much it from this one. So look after yourselves. Let me know what you think down below in the comment section. Stay safe, and I will speak to you soon.